With every other asset on Earth, anything else you can own, houses, gold, silver, commodities, stocks, bonds, when the price goes up, the supply increases. If I increase the price of any stock by a factor of 10, the company issues more stock.
Of course.
Bitcoin's the only thing in the world that's inelastic to price. If the price of Bitcoin triples, you can't make any more. If the price goes up by a factor of a million, you can't make any more. In engineering, there's something called conservation of energy. And the whole point of conservation of energy is energy can either be made or destroyed. There has to be conservation of it. The mathematical metaphor, the mathematical analogy to that is proper math. 10 plus 10 equals 20. 2 plus 2 equals 4. If 10 plus 10 ever starts equaling 18, you got a problem.
Yeah.
If you have a swimming pool with a leak, if I have an electric system with a short circuit, if I have a leak in my engineering system, nothing works.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the AltStChronicle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another week of crypto news. As Nexus, I am always pleased to be your host for today. A little bit late on this show, but there's a lot to talk about. Interpol just issued a red notice for Terra Labs' Do Kwon. How's that gonna go? Who knows where that bastard is? Probably chilling on some kind of Bahamian beach somewhere. I don't know if they're ever gonna find him. Meanwhile, the Fed had multiple meetings coming out, including with the big bank CEOs. JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon says, quote, "I'm a major skeptic on crypto tokens, what you call currency like Bitcoin. They're all decentralized Ponzi's," he says. Well, is Jamie full of it? We'll get into it. All right, beginning with Do Kwon, the Terraform Labs founder has now been issued a red notice. To those of you who aren't aware, this is the financial world's equivalent of, this guy is an international Ponzi scammer, and he is now wanted by law enforcers all over the world. So any of you who like to go out to your local watering hole, wherever or whatever it may be, should you happen to see Do Kwon out there, Interpol is looking for him, so go ahead and give them a tip. They might even give you some of his crypto in exchange. Meanwhile, the Fed over in the US had a series of meetings this week that have dramatic impacts going forward. They raised interest rates, among other things, and they had a meeting with the Committee on Financial Protections, where they met with a number of chief executives of big banks. Among them, JP Morgan's CEO, a man by the name of Jamie Dimon. Now, why is this significant to us? Well, Jamie Dimon put out a bunch of crap in his speech to the committee because he said that all of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything is a decentralized Ponzi scheme. Now, I'm not just saying he's full of crap because I'm a Bitcoiner. That'd be the easy and milquetoast take. No, Jamie Dimon's full of crap because Jamie Dimon's talking out both sides of his mouth. Just a few months ago, Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan set up their own crypto trading desks. They've been speculating on these assets, same as all the rest of us have. So when JP Morgan steps up in front of Congress and says the whole thing's a Ponzi scheme, he's really just dumping on the price to pump his own bags at the end of the day. If the whole thing's going to be used as an institutional transfer of wealth and money, then that is absolutely going to be the result of Jamie's FUD comments. He's going to convince a bunch of bureaucrats that the decentralized stuff is unviable. Meanwhile, the centralized stuff that he's building, oh no, that's totally fine. We're not going to have any problems with that. No implementation issues. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. The too long didn't read on all of that is that I think Jamie Dimon is a hypocrite. It was revealed in a consensus lawsuit that JP Morgan is using Ethereum as the base for his central bank digital currency. I don't know what they're calling it. I imagine they'd call it JP coin or something. But if Jamie Dimon is sincerely trying to call everything a Ponzi scheme, then if Bitcoin and Ethereum are Ponzi schemes, then what does that make you, Jamie Dimon? Interpol just released a red notice for a guy whose project collapsed without his intentions. They're trying to arrest him as a scammer, when in reality, he might have just been selling tokens at good price points. Now he's a multimillionaire. That fact possibly has absolutely nothing to do with the collapse of TerraLuna. But does that mean that Kwon needs to go to prison while Jamie Dimon gets to accept some more federal bailouts from the government? I don't know. It's a gray area. But Jamie knows that, and that's why he's talking about it. Not to mention JP Morgan's significant stake in the data companies that run Ethereum, that now control the staking nodes for Ethereum. JP Morgan is a major stockholder in their server hosting providers. So those of you with Ethereum nodes out there, if any of you catch this and you're hosting your Ethereum node on Amazon Web Services, let me just tell you right now, you're not doing any of us a favor. There are plenty of other hosting providers you could be using that do not bow to Bezos. Now, with that said, let's get into something a little bit more positive, shall we? Let's think a little bit bigger now. For the last few minutes and for a lot of my broadcasts, I've been talking about crypto and finance and how we relate to businesses and how we consume and look at products as investors or as crypto buyers. But now I'd ask you guys to sort of take a broader view of money. We're going to think for a minute about money, not in the context of what the US government thinks or what the Eurozone thinks or what China and Russia think. This is a little bit too small of a scale. I'd like us all to just step back for a moment, take a beautiful deep breath, and think about things much bigger, much greater scale than one nation. I'm thinking maybe one planet, one solar system. In geology, as in archaeology, we measure things by timescales that are essentially impossible to functionally comprehend. But that doesn't mean that we can't try to conceive of an economy of the future. And this is what brings us to a piece written for Futurism magazine 8 years ago by an author named Jolene Crichton about the Kardashev scale. Now, to anyone who's into, conspiracies and UFO stuff, you've probably heard of the Kardashev scale somewhere. The Kardashev scale is a way of measuring academically the degree to which a civilization has technologically advanced. The way this is measured is by the scale and consumption of energy. Now, that might seem to some, depending on your philosophical understanding of economy, as a rather primitive way to understand how developed a interstellar civilization might be. But in lacking any better measures, this is what we have. To quote the article, we have reached a turning point in society. According to the renowned theoretical physicist Michio Kaku, the next 100 years of science will determine whether we perish or thrive. Will we remain a type 0, meaning stuck to our little marble bubble, or will we advance and make our way to the stars? Experts assert that as a civilization grows larger, and becomes more advanced, its energy demands will increase rapidly due to its population growth and the energy requirements of its various machines. With this in mind, the Kardashev scale was developed as a way of measuring a civilization's technological advancement based upon how much usable energy it has at its disposal. This was originally just tied to energy available for communications, but it has since been expanded. The scale was originally designed in 1964 by the Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev, who was looking for signs of extraterrestrial life within cosmic signals. It has 3 base classes, each with an energy disposal level. The energy disposal levels are so massive that they're measured in exponents of 10 multiplied by an amount of watts. A Type 1 civilization consumes and produces 10 to the 16th power watts. A Type 2, 10 to the 26th power. A Type 3, 10 to the 36th power. And other astronomers have gone further to extend this to Types 4 and 5, extending into 10 to the 46th through 56th power. The kind of energy that would be available to that kind of civilization would be equal to that of all energy available in all universes and dimensions. Think about that for a second. An entire species, a group of people or beings capable of not only producing but also consuming more energy than exists in this universe, in this dimension, to the point where all possible timelines are consumed. Like a truly Thanos level of energy consumption. It's important to note here that the human race isn't even on the scale. Since we still sustain our energy needs from burning stuff and dead plants, we are still a lowly Type 0 civilization, and we have a long way to go before we can produce enough energy to reach Type 1. Kaku, the philosopher, believes in time, all things taken into consideration, we could reach Type 1 in the next 200 or 300 years, maybe even sooner. But what does each of these categories actually stand for in literal terms? A Type 1 designation is given to species who have been able to harness all of the energy that is available from their neighboring star, gathering and storing it to meet the demands of their growing population. This means that we would need to boost our energy production over 100,000 times. So in order to graduate from primitive rock throwers and log burners, we must produce 100,000 Earths worth of energy relative to how much we produce today. Being able to harness all of that energy means we would have control over all of the natural forces on the planet. We could control volcanoes. We could cease or start earthquakes at the snap of a finger. We could even control the weather. These kind of feats are hard to believe, but compared to what is to come, these are just primitive and basic levels of control. It's absolutely nothing compared to the capability of a society that was Type 2 or greater on the Kardashev scale. A Type 2 civilization can harness the power of the entire star, Not just transforming starlight into energy, but controlling a star. There are several methods have been proposed over the years to accomplish this, and whatever device that would do this would encompass every single inch of the surface of a star, gathering most, if not all, of its energy output and transferring it to a planet. Alternatively, if fusion power could be mastered, a reactor on an immense scale could be used to satisfy their civilization's needs. Nearby gas giants could be utilized for their hydrogen, slowly drained of life by an orbiting reactor. What would all of this energy mean for a species? Well, nothing known to science could wipe out a Tech 2 civilization. Take, for example, if humans survived long enough to reach this status and a moon-sized object entered our solar system on a direct collision course with Earth, we would have the ability to vaporize it out of existence or even move our planet out of the way and completely dodge it. But let's say we didn't want to move. Are there any other options? Well, yeah, we could move Jupiter into the way. At this point, we've gone for having control over a planet, over having a star, to harboring enough disposable energy to make our entire civilization immune to extinction. But then there's Type 3, where a species then becomes a galactic traverser with the knowledge of everything having to do with energy, resulting them becoming a true master race. In human terms, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, both biological and mechanical, could result from the inhabitants of a Type 3 civilization being incredibly different from what we call human today. These might even be cyborgs, both biological and robotic, with the descendants of regular humans being a subspecies of a much more highly advanced society. These wholly biological humans would likely be seen as disabled, inferior, or unevolved compared to their more enhanced counterparts. At this stage, assuming this is us, we would have developed colonies of robots capable of self-replication. Their population might increase to millions themselves as they spread through the galaxy, colonizing star system after star system. These might themselves build Dyson spheres to encapsulate each star, creating an interstellar network that would carry energy back home. But stretching over the galaxy in such a manner would face several problems. Namely, the species is constrained by the laws of physics and light speed travel. Unless they develop a working warp drive or use the incalculable energy cache to master wormhole teleportation, two things that remained theoretical, they can only get so far. Kardashev himself believed that a Type 4 civilization was too advanced, and no civilization could possibly go beyond Type 3. He thought surely this would be the extent of any species' ability, and many agree. But few believe that there's a further level that could be achieved. Surely there's a limit to how much energy a civilization can consume. A Type 4 civilization would almost be able to harness the energy constant of the entire universe. With that, they could traverse the accelerating expansion of space. Furthermore, advanced races of these species might even live inside of supermassive black holes. To previous methods of generating energy, these kinds of feats are considered impossible. A Type 4 civilization would need to tap into energy sources unknown to us, using strange or unknown laws of physics. Finally, Type 5. Type 5 might just be the next possible advancement to such a civilization. Here, beings would be like gods. But having the knowledge to manipulate the universe as they please? As I said, humans are a long, long way from ever reaching anything like this, the author writes. But it's not to say that it cannot be achieved as long as we take care of Earth and each other. To do so, the first step is to preserve our tiny home, extinguish war, and continue to support scientific advances and discoveries. Thank you, everybody. And with that, I'm declaring the phone lines open. Who wants to come talk about things? What's on your mind, community? That's right. We're taking bids. Bids for news coverage. Anything of note. Whatever concerns you. That's why we're here. And if King says to talk about how the Great British Pound is crashing, I just talked about how the Great British Pound is crashing. Congratulations. Can I elaborate more on ETH? What about ETH would you like elaborated on, my dear sir? What about ETH would you like elaborated? Let's talk about King and his NFTs, says Sean. Well, first, let's answer the Ethereum question. What's on your mind?
So basically, I was kind of wondering what. I didn't expect like much of a thing after the merge because I already know that in the bear market things aren't like going to be as great as we thought. But the fuck happened after the merge? Why is Ethereum like going in a bad direction? Let's say it like that.
Oh,
Although of course in the future I do have like trust in it in the future, but I still wondering what the hell happened.
well, if it's hard to say directly because there were a lot of contributing economic factors that led to Ethereum seeing a dump following the merge. In particular, the most obvious find that I can think of with regards to why a lot of people would be wanting to dump Ethereum following the merge would be the block find ratios. As soon as anyone observing just raw transactions as they're being recorded to Ethereum using the staked nodes, it would become obvious and apparent to anyone watching that the blocks are being found by the same 6 wallets 50 to 60% of the time. So when you're talking about decentralizing money and your entire system runs on decentralized proof of work, it's going to be energy intensive, but the energy expenditure that's happening relative to how much you're making today and how much you hope to make in the future, that's the calculation you're making. Once you remove the energy aspect from the calculation, it certainly cuts a lot of costs out for running the project. And it certainly removes a lot of the environmental concerns with reference to Ethereum. But the issue that you're going to run into immediately is centralization. You're no longer decentralized as you hope and claim to be. So unfortunately for Ethereum, there were a lot of people who said, oh, Ethereum just centralized? It's all controlled by Coinbase, Binance, and a few fiscal firms? Yeah, I think I'm going to sell now. So those folks, that makes sense to me. They have certain very specific guiding principles, and they are not at all interested in Ethereum being centralized. They wanted it to remain decentralized.
I don't understand that. I'm in the same category. But I didn't sell my Ethereum nevertheless. I still have that bright hope that one day it will be not 100%, but still a bit more than it is today.
Well, the cool thing about what Ethereum's merge did is that it did reduce the new issuance of Ethereum down to effectively nothing. And if you combine that with the burn mechanics, then at this point in time, Ethereum is essentially a deflationary asset, where Bitcoin is merely inflation resistant. There is a hard fixed limit on the amount of Bitcoin that will be in existence. But as of the merge, the amount of Ethereum in supply in existence will decrease each time Ethereum is burned. Whether this is a good thing or not, in the short term, I don't think it is a good thing. Because you're going to go down in value as the decentralist faithful flee the project. But in the long term, economically speaking, I do believe that it will be a good thing for the project. At least if the goal of the project is solely to drive up the value of Ethereum in the long term. These mechanics will achieve that.
And then second question that I was asking is can you do a status update on ships that fly on the ground?
Absolutely. The project appears to be moving full steam ahead. They have opened up a whitelist for reserving a pilot's license, if that is to your interest, on their Discord server. If that is not to your interest, then it is worth noting that all Kickstarter backers of the original Kickstarter project that was transformed into ships that fly underground will be receiving the equivalent of a $30 or greater airdrop, essentially, into their accounts. So Kickstarter backers are going to be getting not only the game they actually originally backed, but they're going to be getting some extras, some bells and whistles on top of that. And that's kind of cool. I think that's extra neat.
Yep. It is. And I'm still having fun beta testing the game. So yeah.
Yeah, the version that I believe I gave to you to play is the original kind of 1995 rendition of the game entitled Descent. So it's not necessarily a beta test as much as it is, this is what the game used to be. This is what the game loop was in the 1990s. So I circulated the Descent game files because I wanted to sort of get people to understand this is what the new game is also going to be like. It is not going to be significantly different from this. And looking at the multiplayer footage coming out of their Discord server, I can confirm that. It looks exactly like a brand new version of the old thing that I liked.
Upscaled and more resolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more high polygon counts. Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. Lot more polygon count.
Yeah. Yeah.
The models in Descent are so antiquated. You can count the triangles. You can eyeball it.
Yep. The nostalgia.
And that,
also, there was on the Polygon, right? That
yes.
They're going to do the coins. Yeah.
Yes.
And still, it might need to be repeated. Maybe for Hulk, they was like talking about it earlier on. The game is free access, so you don't pay. You don't need to pay for anything. But you can buy a pilot's license, and once you have that, you have a ship that will like accumulate points that you can bring over every time, which is stored on blockchain. I think you're the best one to explain that better than I do.
Yeah, no, that's basically how it's going to work. Separate economy. Although, what is going on in chat right now? Can we talk about the criteria to get into society? I was kicked for being a top G. Is this the time where I have to remind you of the free speech meme? Where yes, your speech is free. You have a right to say whatever you want, but that means that everyone else has a right to call you an asshole. And just because you're being called an asshole doesn't mean your free speech is being violated. This is exactly the same as every person who goes into every community and gets banned from every community and then says, you're censoring my speech. You're censoring my speech. No, I'm kicking you out of the community because you came in here and insulted everyone. It's actually a very, very simple request. If you don't insult everyone in the community, then maybe people will listen to your crazy opinions. Maybe they will even talk to you about your crazy opinions. Ah, yes, Theos, I censored you for blasting your clippers into the mic. That's totally the reason, and no other reason at all. Nobody mind the chat. Just a little healthy toxicity.
Hey, it's Gen Chat now, so yeah. The bears. The bears are always going to be bears.
I ain't toxic. It's all natural, baby. That's right. All natural Russian motor oil running through these veins. All natural Russian motor oil.
The memes.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Who doesn't love to get dusted by the Red Squad?
I'm the right one, he said. Welcome to the internet, everybody.
Anyway, any new updates on Crypto World?
Well, Crypto Land is continuing to try to sell NFT island plots. If anyone wants to buy an imaginary plot on an imaginary island that they don't actually have the right to sell you. Meanwhile,
they don't even buy yet themselves.
Yes. And meanwhile, Earth 2 is considering to sell you GPS coordinates for buildings and a metaverse recreation of planet Earth using presumably topographic map data.
Yeah, that game that still hasn't a game.
Yes, none of the games I just mentioned have a game. They just have NFT maps and tokens to sell you.
Has a game.
Yes. Oh, Ships That Fly Underground has a game.
It exists. It's there. It's playable already, but it's just not released yet. Yeah, all the other ones, that's just bullshit. All the NFT bullshit. Yeah.
This is why I have to beat it to death. When you're building a game and you decide to put a token around it, that's very different than if you're building a token and then you decide to put a game around it.
Yeah. At least you have a game, right?
Yes, that's the key distinction.
Not like,
that's what most.
killing assets. Like look at this asset. Wow, right? Where's the rest of the game? It doesn't exist yet.
Correct. We got borrowed assets from the Unreal store that we paid $10,000 to $20,000 for, and we're completely willing and able to hawk you all of that stuff, and act like we made all that stuff. But no, we're not interested in actually building or selling you a game. We really just want to do an asset flip with a blockchain component. So now we got two sets of snake oil to flip you. I mean, Star Citizen is oh. One moment.
Oh.
I was doing my makeup. Let me wrap it. All right. Well, that's basically all I got, guys. Yep, CIA's knocked. The jig is up. The show is over. We are going to have to put a little wrapper in it here for today. Like I said, I was hoping I would be able to squeeze this in a very short amount of time. I will call you guys from federal jail. I am never going to give you all up. I am never going to let you all down. I will never run around and desert you. I might make you cry, but when I say goodbye, it's only because the CIA is knocking on my door and they're here to take me away.
By the way, for everybody, if you want to listen to this show later on, don't forget to check Nexus website. YouTube channel.
That's right. Those of y'all who appreciate it, check it out afterward. I love y'all. Thank y'all very much dearly for sticking with us. Ta-ta for now. Where's JCM hiding? He's at JCM's place. That's funny. Alrighty. Love you guys.
Now go pay your taxes. Bye-bye.